Ever since the start of Chapter 2, Season 3, and seeing poor Midas sat there on his lone raft with a shark attacking him, the question that's been stuck in my head is, what has happened to Midas? Is he even alive? Today I thought we'd do a load of research, and I gathered all of the information I could to answer that exact question for you guys, as we're going to be diving deep into not just Midas, but all of the Fortnite bosses that existed on the map last season to work out what happened to them and where they've gone. The conclusion that I've come to is honestly quite shocking, and I'm quite excited to share it with you guys, so stick around to the end to find out everything you need to know. If you'd like to support Midas in that battle against that shark that attacked him, one like equals one prayer for Midas, and hopefully he can make it through the shark attack. And of course, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We're powering towards 18 million subscribers, and all of the latest news and information for Fortnite is always found here first, and you don't want to miss it. One thing that's really important in understanding, because we're about to go quite deep into detail as to what is going on with Midas, is the world of Fortnite itself. We can assume, and a lot of people believe, having come out of last season's live event, that the Battle Royale map is a simulation which just repeats over and over and over, and then the real Fortnite world contains all of the talking skins, including Mr. Jones, that we met in the live event in the office. Midas exists within the simulation Fortnite Battle Royale map, and the talking Fortnite skins are basically like the overlords. Now that we know that, hopefully the rest of the video should make sense. Last season, we saw the 5 key bosses, Midas, Meowscles, Sky, Brutus, and TNTina, holding down key locations on the map, and Midas himself ultimately building up towards what was an epic live event. Some of these bosses we have seen since then, and have seen in Chapter 2, Season 3, but there's still loads of questions that remain that need to be answered, and the conclusion I've come to, as I've said, is pretty mind-blowing. Let's start off with Brutus. We actually see him at the start of Chapter 2, Season 3 in a very comedic part of the trailer, where Ocean actually uppercuts Brutus in his ghost outfit, losing his helmet, and actually Ocean is now donning Brutus's mask instead, and I can only assume that Brutus hung his head in shame and is yet to reappear on the map. Meowscles is also a huge part of the opening trailer, experiencing everything new in the brand new season for the very first time, from riding on the sharks to checking out the brand new bosses. And for him, I can only assume that he is spending most of his time probably looking after Kit, his very small little kitten son, and hopefully trying to train to be as big as strong as himself. As for Sky and TNTina, their locations and what they're up to is a little bit more mysterious, and will be answered as we dive deeper into Midas specifically. As we've all seen, the shark attack at the beginning of the season leaves a lot of questions, so let's find the answers. Let's just take the timeline and drag it back a little bit. If you didn't fully understand the event that happened last season, it's going to give us so many answers, and will no doubt continue to give us so many answers as the Fortnite seasons unfold over the rest of the years. At the beginning of the season, the big battle and the big decision we made was obviously between Ghost and Shadow. That choice was continually made throughout the season as the bosses took allegiance with different sides, and it ultimately was headed up, at least for the Ghost side, by Midas. But some of the bosses branched off into the Shadow team, some of them sticking with Ghost, but actually none of it really mattered. The battle was really just a giant disguise and a cover-up for what Midas was planning, which was ultimately the lead-up and the creation of the Doomsday device, which we saw being used in an epic way for a crazy viewing experience to ultimately push back the storm. Midas was so smart and so clever, he realized that the Battle Royale map was stuck in an infinite loop of the storm coming in over and over and over, players dying, respawning over and over and over, and he was 200 IQ enough to realize that he needed to stop it. The Ghost versus Shadow battle was ultimately a cover-up for him to create this device without anyone realizing that that was what he wanted to do, and that part went to plan until it was actually used. Initially, it seemed like it worked. The storm was pushed back, and we even saw the magical glow of the map with rainbows, bright colors, and sparkles. It looked like the map was just going to live in freedom without the storm forever. As we know, though, unfortunately, it didn't hold, it didn't work. The waves came crashing in, held back only by the storm itself, and ultimately led to the flooding of the map, which is where we are right now. The key thing which we saw in the live event was Mr. Jones, which we always knew as Jonesy, the talking version of that skin in an office, explaining that the whole Battle Royale map was going crazy. Through Midas's attempt failing, he knew that Midas was a little bit too smart for the Battle Royale map, and for him to not attempt this again, something needed to happen. But to work out how Mr. Jones and all of the talking Fortnite characters that are still quite mysterious ultimately led us into this season, where obviously Midas isn't trying to do the same thing again, and to find out how they stopped him, we need to first of all understand something very important. If somebody told you, I need you to build a doomsday device, stop the storm, and make all of that happen within about a 20 to 25 minute game of Fortnite, it's just not going to happen. As we know, the construction and the building of the doomsday device happened over months and months and months, at least within real time, where probably millions of Fortnite games were played. However, it is safe to assume that at least the bosses on the Fortnite map last season were put there under the control of the talking Fortnite skins, probably Mr. Jones himself. And as a result, so that they kept on doing the same things over and over, which we know is protect their vault, take down enemies they see, and basically just stay in their boss location, they need to have their memories wiped every single game. If they don't, then they may start realizing what's going to happen and try and do something about it, which is what Midas did. The way that he broke this cycle, he didn't actually stop his memory from being wiped. It actually all came down from the fact that he had that ability to turn things into gold. If you remember from Midas's intro trailer, he has his own base, his own office, which is where a doomsday device was created, and he would always turn different characters' masks to gold. It didn't really make any sense. And what made even less sense is that the Link skin, for example, had two versions of her skins turned to gold. And this is where Midas's 200 IQ trick worked. Even if his memory got reset every game, he could come down into his office, take a look at the wall, realize that there was more than one Link skin. In fact, there was loads of skins on display turned to gold, and it would trigger his ability to realize that he was in a simulation, that the Fortnite map was being repeated over and over and over, and he needed to do something about it. He could remind himself every game what his goal was, plan this big doomsday device over multiple games, and ultimately, even if his memory was getting reset, he could continue the progress of his ultimate goal. I think it's safe to assume that Mr. Jones and his talking Fortnite buddies had an idea that something was going on the Fortnite map, because they had a load of top secret documents covering Midas, and even Jules that obviously came out this season. They knew that something was up and something wasn't going quite right. Their simulation, which is a lot of people is now assuming the Fortnite Battle Royale world is, just a place to actually simulate people dying and practicing taking each other down whilst the storm comes in. And in fact, the Fortnite talking skins were just extremely lucky that Midas's plan didn't work. Because it failed, it gave them a way to stop Midas ever doing his plan again. So to return to the original question, what's happened to Midas and is he still alive? Well, let's be real. If a shark jumps on your little raft and eats you up, you're definitely going to die, I'm afraid. I think it's safe to assume that at that point in the video, Midas was dead. But let's not forget that Midas exists within Fortnite Battle Royale, which is a simulation. Everything repeats itself over and over. Even if you get taken down, you get respawned and you can jump straight back in. However, with Midas being such a big disruptor of the Fortnite simulation, it's safe to say that all of the talking Fortnite skins have gone ahead to make sure Midas will never do a great big escape plan ever again. We know this because A, Midas's secret base, which he used to jolt his memory every time with all of the golden masks, doesn't exist anymore. So each time he respawns, if his memory has been fully wiped, he can't remember what's going on, he doesn't realize he's in a simulation. Or if they decide to torture Midas a little bit more, they could let him keep his memory, let him know he's in the simulation, and every time he respawns, he will know he'll never be able to attempt an escape plan again because he's being watched so closely, and trust me, they would never let him build a second doomsday device. If we assume that all of the talking skins are controlling the Fortnite map, putting characters wherever they want and creating new bosses, it's safe to say that one of the punishments for Midas trying to escape is the fact that he's no longer a boss on the map. He's just a skin that people can pick as and play. He'll never have his own base anymore. He'll never be an important character. He's been demoted and he's been punished. Let's not forget what also happened to Sky and TNT. Well, we can assume, since we haven't really seen any of them, that they were probably working in close relationships with Midas for his doomsday plan, which ultimately means they saw a similar result to Midas. Mr. Jones wasn't happy with them either, and at the moment they've probably been sent away and won't be seen, at least for bosses, for a very long time, which means RIP Sky's assault rifle, RIP TNT's bow, both amazing mythic weapons. I would love to see them return. I'd love to see the bosses return, but I think if Mr. Jones has got anything to say about it, we're not going to be seeing them on the Fortnite world for a while. Videos like these I absolutely love, but I hope it doesn't get too confusing for you guys. If there are any questions or any of your own ideas potentially, please do leave them down below in the comment section and let me know what you think of my ideas in this video. If you want to find out more Fortnite information or just crazy awesome stuff going on right now, click one of the videos on screen. Can you believe it? Those videos are even better than this one. You don't want to miss it. So pick your favorite, click one right now. I'll see you over there. Thank you so much for watching. And Midas says goodbye.